everyone, I came up with another video that I'd like to do today when I was watching YouTube, and I was starting to get infuriated by some of the videos that are out there and reading some of the misinformation on the internet about Suboxone and buprenorphine in general. So it's going to be another video like the last one where you're not going to have to look at your screen, you're just going to be looking at my backyard, our backyard, and so you can actually just put your headphones on and listen. And these are the top myths that I read or see about Suboxone. And unfortunately, you know, it's really scary and it's really sad, the things that are out there that even doctors believe about it, or counselors. Like this video that I was watching this morning, this lady is like a master counselor for drug addiction, and they prescribe Suboxone, and they know nothing about it. The things that she was saying were hilarious. Well, they would have been hilarious had they not been dangerous to tell people when it wasn't true what she was saying. And I see this a lot. So why is it dangerous to spread misinformation about this drug? Well, because people count on that information and they spread it around too. And you know, when you get into addiction, you have two choices. Addiction can kill you or you can live. So this is a life or death drug. This is a life or death situation, and you really don't want to be spreading things that are not correct about a medication that could save somebody's life. So it's really important that we have the correct information out there. The first thing that I hear that's incorrect about Suboxone is its pronunciation. It's not Suboxone, so Suboxone. It's Suboxone, and it says it right on the pamphlet. It has like a pronunciation in parentheses, so that's the way that you pronounce it. I think a lot of people in the South say Suboxone, but it's not. But call it whatever you want as long as it works for you, right? The second thing, which is one of the scariest things that I hear about Suboxone that's not true, is what the naloxone in these buprenorphine products are for. And you know, the woman in the video was saying that half of Suboxone is naloxone, which that's not true. It's not half. And she was saying that the naloxone is the blocker. Now, I hear this a lot. Naloxone is the blocker. You need that because it's the blocker. No. Actually, it's not. The purpose of naloxone, it only serves one purpose, is to deter or prevent IV use of Suboxone. So why it was put in there is to deter people from IVing it. Now, I've heard people can get around that. So, you know, maybe it's them putting it in there was just wishful thinking, but maybe it does work. So what's supposed to happen is the little bit of naloxone that's in buprenorphine products, except for like Subutex, which doesn't contain it, it basically creates a precipitated withdrawal, which is like a horrible, worst withdrawal you'll ever feel if you try to put it in your vein. So that's the only thing that naloxone is doing in that product. Also, it's eliminated by the first pass metabolism of the liver, so you're not going to have much more than trace amounts of naloxone, especially if you spit it out. I've noticed it doesn't show up in a drug test at all, and it's only like little tiny trace amounts if you don't and you swallow it, because it's eliminated. There's only little tiny bits. Now, so that brings me to the third point. The blocker is the buprenorphine. Buprenorphine is the blocker, not naloxone. So people keep getting that wrong, and it's important that we understand how these things that we put in our body work. You should understand your recovery. You should understand the medications that you're ingesting. So buprenorphine is the blocker. Basically, the affinity that it has for the opiate receptors is so great. It fits in there so tight that if you try to take any other opiate when that's in the receptor, it won't work. It'll just kick it right out. It'll just block it. So buprenorphine is the blocker, and that's just a fact. And anybody that says anything different, they're wrong. They need to read about it. And it's really sad that doctors and counselors that are prescribing or referring people to this medication don't even know these things that are just really, really, important to know. So, fourth, the fourth thing that I hear a lot is it's safer because it's harder to OD. So buprenorphine products are safer because they're harder to overdose on. Well, yeah. I mean, if, and this is the part that people forget to say, if you're opiate tolerant, if you're not opiate naive, it's very, very dangerous to say something like that without that caveat there, or that disclaimer, because if a little kid gets a teeny tiny bit of that on their tongue, they'll die. And naloxone's not going to work because it's not the blocker. So you could kill a small child or an opiate naive person with a very teeny tiny little bit. So no, Suboxone is dangerous. Buprenorphine absolutely is dangerous. No, it's not any safer. The only way that it's a little bit safer is that there's a ceiling. So if you're opiate tolerant and you're used to taking this product, then for you, you're not going to die of an overdose because of buprenorphine. So it causes less CNS and respiratory depression and things like that. And it comes to a ceiling where if you take any more, nothing is going to happen. So, I mean, it's just important that when you say things like that, that it's the caveat of it's only safer if you're used to taking it. Because people, you spread things like that and see how dangerous that is. Somebody that dabbles in painkillers and takes them at a party once a month decides to take a 8 milligram film of Suboxone, well, they're gonna die, more than likely. So let's not spread that information, okay? So, number 5, dosing issues, okay? Yes, there is a ceiling where it really stops doing much, but you can take more, and if you get used to taking more, even above the ceiling, and you try to take less, you will get sick. So don't get it twisted what the ceiling means, okay? So they say that the ceiling is somewhere between 16 milligrams or 24 milligrams a day. Nobody really knows. I mean, those are all just educated guesses, right? So it stops having certain effects on you at a certain dose. But let's say you decide, like an idiot, to waste Suboxone and take 5 8 milligram pills a day, or films. And you do this for a long period of time. And then one day you decide to take 3 8 milligram films a day. Guess what? You're gonna get sick. So yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of stops having an effect in some clinical way, but that doesn't mean that nothing bad's going to happen to you. If it doesn't mean what you think it means. And we kind of have to be careful about saying that, because some people, they do things they're not supposed to do because they're an addict. So let's not tell people that any higher than this amount doesn't do anything, because first of all, that depends on the person. Second of all, we don't really know for sure. We're just guessing based on these clinical studies and things like that. Nobody has like a camera inside someone's brain and their microscopic receptors, so we don't really know. So, and the other thing about dosing issues that people don't understand, or there's a lot of misinformation or myths about, is that 2 milligrams of buprenorphine is the halfway point of any taper. I don't care what dose you're on. From whatever you're on, 32, 24, whatever it is, 16, down to 2, that's the first leg of the journey. And then the second leg of the journey is from 2 to nothing, because those last 2 milligrams are the battle of your life right there. And you better have a plan for when you're done with it. Not just, I'm off buprenorphine, life is great. No, you better have a plan. So like I said in my last video, everybody has a bad day. So what are you gonna do? So, the other thing that I hear a lot is, I think that there's some misinformation out there that when you get on buprenorphine as opposed to morphine or, OxyContin or whatever these drugs are that you're on before you're on Suboxone or Zubsolv or any buprenorphine product, is that I'm going to get on this treatment medication and then everything's going to get better. people are going to treat me better. People aren't going to treat me like a junkie anymore. I can hold my head up high. Guess what? Not true. Absolutely not true. Because guess what? As educated as your pharmacist is, or your neighbor, or whatever, or your family members are, they don't know the difference between morphine or oxy or buprenorphine. They don't know the difference because to them it's all just an opiate. They don't know the difference between a full agonist opiate or a partial agonist opiate. That doesn't mean anything to them. So you aren't going to be treated any better because guess what? You'll go up there, right? And you'll be 2 days early because you legit have things to do, right? And you just want to get your medication out of the way. And you'll go up there and you'll be 2 days early and they will treat you like absolute garbage at most pharmacies. But if it was any other medicine besides Suboxone or Zubsolv or anything like that, if it were your blood pressure or your cholesterol medicine, they'd be texting you like crazy from these big box stores telling you, 4 days early that your prescription's ready and they've auto-filled it. But that's not going to happen on a treatment medication. You will be treated like absolute junk, quite a bit. Your PCP that's not a MAT doctor, when you have to tell him that you're on buprenorphine, chances are, him or her, they're going to treat you like crap. When you have to tell your OBGYN that you're on buprenorphine and you're pregnant, they're going to treat you like crap a lot of times. So you are going to have your fair share of challenges, and you have to be ready for it, and you have to be strong through it, and don't let that get you down, because it is a treatment barrier. But it's up to you to be strong enough to get through it or not, and just know for yourself that these people are just ignorant on the topic. So that's up to you. Let's see. So that's the thing too, is you're going to go in there for that 2 days early because you legit are going on vacation or you have something to do with your life, God forbid, and you don't have time to drive to the pharmacy and stand there all day. And they're going to give you the stink eye. They're going to give you the runaround. They're going to treat you like garbage. They might mutter under their breath calling you a junkie, which I've had happen plenty of times. But the next person in line is going to come in and they're going to get their oxy, and they're going to get it a week early, and nobody's going to say anything, and they're going to turn right around in front of them with their buddy that of course came up there with them, and they're going to be making plans to sell it right in front of that pharmacist. And you know what? Guess who got treated bad and who didn't? Was it the junkie that's in active addiction and actually physically selling it and on a full agonist? Or was it the person who has to get drug tested constantly, admitted they needed help, went through rehab, has a whole line of clean drug tests behind them, and is completely compliant enough to get that prescription in their hand? That junkie. It's the other one. It's the one that didn't admit they needed help. Sad, huh? So just don't expect that everyone's going to treat you awesome because you're on this medication, because that's not going to happen. Which brings me to number 7. It solves all your problems. It fixes your addiction. No, it doesn't. So that was the other thing that I saw in this video. This lady, this counselor, she's saying, it doesn't work for any of my patients. They take the medication and they just say it's not for them. They need all this other stuff like counseling, and that's what ends up working, and counseling and therapy and getting down to the bottom of their second diagnosis, like depression or whatever, and getting to the root of issues and changing habits and patterns. Well, yeah, were you just giving it to them when they're on the medication and not giving them any counseling or treatment? Because buprenorphine isn't a fix-all, okay? Buprenorphine is a pause button for most people. It's pressing pause on your addiction, in the throes of it, in the chaos, in the continued use despite negative consequences, to get you off the drug, off the streets, off the dangerous behaviors, so that you can get your life together. That's all it is. But getting your life together, that's counseling, that's compliance in a drug treatment program, that's smart recovery or AA or NA meetings. That's, you know, figuring out why you did what you did and fixing it. It's getting a job, getting on your own 2 feet. You know, that's what fixes it. The drug's just a pause button. And yeah, sometimes that pause button is indefinite and you can't get off of it, because the minute that you do, you're just not ready yet. A decade later, 5 years later, 20 years later, or your whole lifetime later. Some people's pause button, it's a long one, and maybe it's till they die, but hopefully it's of natural causes instead of an OD, you know? So it's not going to fix everything. It just isn't. And the people around you are not going to understand it because they don't know that it's not a euphoria medication. It does have side effects, so it's going to make you tired and things like that. So they're going to accuse you of being stoned or whatever and acting like you used to some effect, but hopefully they'll start seeing the positive changes in your life, and maybe they'll get it, maybe they won't. But they're going to tell you it's a crutch. They're going to tell you all of these things, but you need to look them in the eye and say, look, I'm not dead right now. This is keeping me from dying, because the prognosis for addiction is death. So I choose to live. And if you don't like it, too bad. I'm going to get better the only way that I know how. So praying about it doesn't work. Sorry, it just doesn't. Addiction is a lifelong disease. It doesn't stop because of a drug or because of a stint in rehab. It doesn't stop ever. It's a daily battle that lasts till you die. And people need to get a hold of themselves and realize that and stop being so damn judgmental. So, which brings me to my other point. People think that it causes euphoria. There's no euphoria with buprenorphine. None. To some people that are spacing out dosing, like their first dose in the morning, they feel better. They don't feel like crud anymore. But feeling like crud is not euphoria. It's just being able to function. It's just like taking insulin. You were shaking and your vision was closing up, and you felt like crap, and then you took your medication and now you're starting to feel normal again. That's the same thing, unless you're opiate naive, and in that case you're an idiot. You shouldn't be doing that. So that's the only way you're going to feel euphoria with buprenorphine, is if you're doing something you're not supposed to do with it, which usually means you're not in a treatment program, which means you have no business taking it. So that's one thing that people, families and stuff, they're not going to understand. So maybe find some literature for them, have them meet with an educated doctor or counselor or somebody knowledgeable to let them know that this is not a party. This is just a way to stay alive. So the other thing is that you're going to hear a lot, if you get pregnant, you need to get off of buprenorphine. No, that is wrong. That is so wrong. Now, some people are going to do it and roll the dice like I did, because they don't want people to look down on them, or for whatever reason. But really, you're not supposed to, because we can treat withdrawal in newborns outside of the womb, but we can't treat it in utero. So your chances of miscarrying or causing the baby to lose oxygen, be oxygen deprived, having a seizure, or dying in utero because you decided to taper, you can't tell the baby's in withdrawal because they're in your stomach and you can't do anything about it, right? So these tapering and this, you gotta quit, that's gotta stop. Yes, the baby might have NAS, but there's ways that, when they're born, but there's ways that you can reduce that, because statistically babies that, their mothers don't smoke during pregnancy, and they avoid, environmental toxins like that, and they don't relapse, and they just stay on their even dose, they got a better shot. So, and it doesn't matter what dose you're on, NAS can happen to anybody. And it doesn't matter if you're on a 0.5 milligram a day or 32. So it's just, there's different theories on that, and I can do that in a different video because I've studied it, and I've been studied by Invidior. So the other thing that I hear a lot is that there's only one brand of buprenorphine, and that's Suboxone, and that's not true either, and I explained that in another video. There's tons of different types of buprenorphine, from patches called like Belbuca for pain in tiny micrograms doses, to Sublocade and its soon competitors, which are injection depots. There's buccal films on the cheek, which I'm not sure if they're still around yet, Bunavil, but they might be. There's tablets, brand name Zubsolv, Roxanne. I mean, there's all different kinds. This lady was saying there's only 3 forms of buprenorphine, but that's not necessarily true. So she just doesn't know what she's talking about. Also, that kind of brings me to Subutex. I mean, that's an interesting topic. A lot of people, they go and they get on Subutex because they swear up and down that they have an allergy to naloxone. That is so rare, but you'd be surprised how many times people say that. They just like Subutex better. I mean, I think for the most part, we should all just be honest here. Addicts lie, and they like Subutex. You can put it in IV, right? Without worrying about precipitated withdrawal. They're worth more money on the street. I mean, if somebody tells me that they need, Subutex, and they're not pregnant, so they're not eliminating that second drug that's not necessary, I kind of look at them side-eyed, because it's pretty rare that someone's actually allergic to it. And it's, like I said, it's eliminated by the first pass metabolism of the liver. So there's no way that all these people are allergic to it. I just don't believe it. Sorry. But, that just means they would need to work harder on their recovery. And I'm not trying to judge, but it is silly. Also, the worst myth, almost, is that you only need it for a short time. That is not true. It's just absolutely not true. It should just be a means to an end. Yeah, if you're Superman or Superwoman, sure. If you found a way to cure the disease of addiction, great, good for you. But that's not true. You're ready when you're ready. You're ready in 20 years, you're never ready, you're ready in a week. How long does it take for you to get your life together? How long does it take for you to emotionally and mentally resolve a lifetime of issues that you had that led you to be an addict? I mean, I'm 8 years out and I'm still working on it, guys. So I haven't relapsed. Good for me, Some people do, and that sucks. I mean, that's hard, but just get back up, right? So stop telling addicts that they need to be done with their Suboxone or Bunavil or whatever in all of these things, because do you want them to die or do you want them to be on buprenorphine? I mean, because you're rolling the dice. The statistics of people that get off of buprenorphine products and actually stay off of them and don't relapse is like, I don't know, 1%. And how many of those people end up dead? So if they have to be on this medicine for the rest of their life to be alive, leave them alone. And stop setting unrealistic expectations for yourself, too. Yeah, going to the pharmacy sucks. Going to the doctor every month or 2 weeks or whatever your doctor requires, that sucks, too. Peeing in a cup all the time, it sucks, right? It sucks having, people around you know. It sucks dissolving things under your tongue and not being able to talk. It does suck. But all these people, they keep you on track, the pharmacist, and it's part of a pattern and a routine that you do, like your recovery process and the other things that you should be doing, like meetings and counseling. It's just a part of it. And if you have to do it for the rest of your life, then so be it. It's better than being dead, right? Or is it? I don't know. But these family members and things like that are so judgmental, you know what? That's the last thing I would say, is that almost everybody's an addict somehow. So stop judging people that are opiate addicts, because everybody's got a vice. And it hurts people just the same, the people around you. To some people, it's alcohol. Some people, it's opiates. Some people, it's meth. Some people, it's narcissism. Some people, it's sex or porn or food or all these things that you say that you're not going to do, or nicotine, or biting your nails, or I mean, there's so many things, and they range from, you know, extremely harmful and deadly to it hurts other people, you know, to it's just gross. I mean, everybody's got their habit, right? So we got to stop judging people and what theirs are and just lift them up instead. So those are my 2 thoughts on the biggest myths about buprenorphine, and I try to be really factual. And if you have anything to add, put your favorite or most heard myth about buprenorphine down below in the comments, and I'd love to see what you have to say. So anyway, that's today's video, and have a good day. Bye guys.